Thank you for joining us once again on Classic Vinyl Podcast. That is, if you're joining us once again.
If this is your first time, I hope you got my snow.
This is the podcast where we listen to and review songs and albums from the classic vinyl era, the 60s and 70s, like we love to do, right?
Yeah.
I'm one of your hosts, Justin. I'm joined by my host, Tyler, here in the basement studio once again.
Yeah. It's not pronounced Lynyrd.
No, well, that's kind of how it is pronounced.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't remember things I used to know.
Yeah, that's true.
We did open season 4 by saying we're going to do a few deep tracks, and this is one of them. We had Chris from St. Cloud, Minnesota, write into us and wanted some Lynyrd Skynyrd, and we have a lot of Lynyrd Skynyrd songs we could do, but I chose one that was one of my favorites that a lot of people, obviously huge Lynyrd Skynyrd fans, are going to know, but a lot of people wouldn't be very familiar with this song, and it's a song called Junkie.
And it sounds a lot like Jimi Hendrix,
Really?
I think.
I don't get that from it, but I've known this song for so long. That's how I kind of perceive it, and I'm sure this is your first time listening to it, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let me give you a little history on Lynyrd Skynyrd. They're an American Southern rock band, but let's just call them an American rock band formed in Jacksonville, Florida in 1964. The band really did popularize, though, that so-called Southern rock sound, formula, and music to it. The band name was originally My Backyard, which is kind of a strange band name. I think Lynyrd Skynyrd works a little better.
Yeah.
They consisted of Ronnie Van Zant on vocals, Gary Rossington on guitar, Alan Collins on guitar, Larry Junstrom on bass, and Bob Burns on drums. Now, they toured for several years, about 5 years, playing a bunch of small venues until they did change their band name to Lynyrd Skynyrd in 1969. They, funny enough, did not release their first album until 1973, almost 10 years after the band had formed. They released their first album, which was pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd. So we know how to pronounce it, right? So the band lineup had changed. By then, they had added Leon Wilkinson on bass, Billy Powell on keyboard, and Ed King as a guitarist. Bob Burns was replaced with Artemis Pyle in 1975. Ed King left the band in 1975 and was replaced by Steve Gaines. So in the 70s is really when this band hit their stride. They released 5 studio albums, a live album, and 8 singles. And it's kind of funny, as well known as this band is today, for how very little they put out as a band, or at least as they were then, obviously because of their untimely ending for the most part. But this band's well known for their hit Sweet Home Alabama, Freebird. I mean, I could name a ton of songs that people know from this band, but their top single ever was Sweet Home Alabama, and only hit number 8 in the U.S., number 6 in Canada, and number 31 in the U.K. So for as well known as this band is now, it's really surprising that that song, which is probably my least favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd song, if not my least favorite classic rock song played on the radio to this day. And don't think I'm a hater of Skynyrd, because I'm not. I just do not like that song.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, for a band, it is very noteworthy how many other bands have written songs referencing directly Lynyrd Skynyrd songs. You hear about songs that mention specifically country songs, but like Freebird, Sweet Home Alabama, they get like a lot of their hits get mentioned in other songs.
Well, I think they had a pretty big crossover from country to rock to pop to everything, which really helped. So their first 5 albums all charted in the top 40, with their 5th studio album, Street Survivors, being their top charting album in the U.S. at number 5. It went number 3 in Canada and number 13 in the UK. Their top charting album anywhere was their 3rd studio album, Give Me Back My Bullets, which hit number 1 in Canada. But besides that album in Canada, this group did not have a number 1 hit anywhere and did not have a number 1 album anywhere besides that one album in Canada. And that's kind of strange for as popular as this band is.
Oh, for sure.
They've sold about 40 million albums worldwide, which is pretty decent for their popularity off of 5 albums. The band's history, though, forever changed October 20th of 1977. They were on a chartered airplane that crashed, killing, obviously, their vocalist Van Zant, Steve Gaines, and their backup singer Cassie Gaines, and it seriously injured a lot of the members in the band as well. So that was something that really, put an end to this band. But in some ways, like all tragedies with bands, it does kind of martyr them in a way, and boost sales and things like that at the time. And it's unfortunate, but that's what happens.
Just like Buddy Holly.
Yeah, kind of. The band did reform in 1987 with Ronnie's younger brother, Johnny Van Zant, taking over the lead vocals, and they're still touring with many members of the band today. They've released several new albums and a ton of compilation albums, but obviously nothing has ever lived up to the original lineup of the band. And if you go see them nowadays, they're obviously still playing all those big hits from the 70s. They were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003. Billy Powell died in 2009. Bob Burns died in 2015. And the last original founding member, Gary Rossington, died in March of 2023. So you see Skynyrd nowadays, it's just not the same band, unfortunately, but people like to relive things. And if you have just a little piece to the past, it can make you feel better. So I don't, disparage anyone for that at all. Do you want to get on the song review?
Yes, I do.
And now it's time for the song review.
So Chris from St. Cloud, Minnesota wanted some Skynyrd, and we're giving him some. Maybe not the one he thought, but Lynyrd Skynyrd-Junkie. Now, this song's a very interesting song. I have personal ties to this. So the song is a demo from October 1970 that they recorded, and it didn't get released until 1991 when they released their box set. Now, I bought that box set in about 1993, and I fell in love with Skynyrd, and I fell in love more with their studio outtakes and things, funny enough, this being one of them. And if you have a chance, and we'll do this one time, but Freebird, the demo on that, is an amazing take of Freebird, in my opinion. So this song was written by Alan Collins and Ronnie Van Zant. Now, the box set itself, it was mostly outtakes, demos, live versions, basically stuff off their first 6 albums that they had just put all this together that they never got a chance to release. Maybe some of it would have been, but it didn't. And this song's kind of an interesting one because if you can tell by the title of the song, Junkie, this is about drugs. And it makes me wonder, because I love this song, why it was not included. Maybe it was because of the times. Maybe they didn't want to put that reference out there. I'm not really sure.
Something I've noticed about Lynyrd Skynyrd is that they have a lot of different sounding songs from each other. This song sounds akin to Give Me Back My Bullets. They've released other songs about drugs. Maybe this one's a little too explicit about drugs, or maybe they just thought, well, we want something that doesn't sound so much like Give Me Back My Bullets.
Well, and I think that, they've released songs about drugs, but a lot of those you kind of have to read into. There's no reading into this one.
No,
I mean,
this song's about drugs.
Lyrics, this is straight about drugs. Now, is it the singer singing about his drug problem? Because the band had problems with drugs. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it was rampant with every band at the time, really, let's be honest. But it's pretty out there, and with the name of Junkie, and there's no shrouding these lyrics.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. But speaking of that box set, it did sell really well, sold about 1 million copies, and is certified gold by the RIAA, which isn't bad for a box set. And I still have it, and I enjoy going to this thing quite often. This song was never released on a studio album, like I said, at all, but it was originally intended for their debut album. And so kind of putting that in, piecing it together in my own mind, I'm thinking because of the explicit content of it and the times, 1970, 1971, which they come out with their debut album in 73, but was that just too far for a debut album to just be so explicitly about drugs? Maybe that was the fear.
Yeah, I want to know what that conversation was in the studio when they were piecing together that album.
Because this song's got a really good sound to it.
It sure does.
But that debut album that was title pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd did really well for the band, reached number 27 in the Billboard charts and sold over 2 million copies, certified 2 times platinum by the RIAA. And that album, I mean, was really what kicked this band's success off after 10 years, funny enough.
It took them 10 years to put it out, but it came out solid gold.
Yeah, exactly. And it has some pretty big songs on it. Tuesday's Gone, very, very popular song. Give Me 3 Steps, Simple Man, Freebird. I mean, that album is loaded. It is a big, big debut album.
Yeah, but you see what I mean? Like, none of those songs sound very much alike.
Not really. I mean,
They're all their own songs.
you could say Tuesday's Gone, Simple Man, and Freebird are all kind of anthemic songs, but they do have a different feel to them completely.
Yeah.
So the band was, really known for its early association with drug and alcohol abuse. Maybe that's why it took 10 years to get an album out. I'm not sure. But
they had to dry out.
Yeah. But many of the songs, I mean, one of my favorite songs of the band, That Smell, it's got a lot of warnings in it against drug behavior and things like that, but it is more shrouded than a song called Junkie. I mean, you can listen to that song and just think, hey, this is a good song with good guitar and good instruments and good vocals. And when I hear that song, I don't think, oh, this is just a drug-laden song through and through. But when you listen to Junkie, you know what it's about. You're just not sure who he's singing about.
Yeah, is this autobiographical? Is this biographical?
Yeah, I mean, but this song, it really portrays out-of-control world of a drug-addicted person, whoever, whatever, whether it's first person, third person, whatever. But this song's got kind of the slow burn, a haunting sound. It features Van Zant's vocals, which I think really are kind of haunting on this thing. But you have themes of loneliness, despair, drug dependency, talking about taking another hit. He's talking about suicide in this song. So it's pretty straightforward about everything.
It's a roller coaster ride. This is all about going from lows to highs and back and forth.
Yeah, and not just highs, but getting high.
Yeah.
I know your answer to this, but what is your history with this song?
About 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, so you've listened to it a total of 2 times now.
That's right.
Yeah, so after listening to Junkie, what are your thoughts on this thing?
This song is, like we were saying, it's a wild ride. It's a roller coaster. A lot of ups and downs, and yet it's a work of art. This is like a auditory painting of the life of a drug addict who their drug of choice is cocaine, and they keep going from high to high, having to like wallow through that low in order to get there.
Speaking of cocaine, that's one of the lyrics. Yonder come a man, Lord, he's got my snow.
Yeah, that's why we know.
You think that's about cocaine? You don't think that's actually about the weather?
No, I don't think that the Lord's man is got the weather in his hands. I think he's got a little dime bag of snow in his pocket. Pure snow, like you only get on top of the K-12. That's a reference from Better Off Dead, the John Cusack classic for the 80s. Okay, I'm glad you picked that up. One thing that really strikes me about this song is the guitar work on it. How it really starts off with, it's a real heavy guitar sound. It's like, this is why I say it sounds a lot like Jimi Hendrix to me, because he had that kind of dissonance in his tuning that makes the guitar kind of wail, and yet it starts off rather soft. But as soon as the guitar starts picking up, it's almost like, okay, well, this junkie has woken up on some stranger's couch, and now he's got to go find his next hit. And he's using these terms as well, that he's looking for his next hit. He's looking to get high, and so he's looking for that fix. He stumbles out there. He's feeling lonely, miserable, depressed. He's in a low. He's down from that high, and then he finds his next hit, does his cocaine, and then he's back on top of that horse again and riding like crazy. And the guitar just is perfect for that. The way that it strums and goes throughout all of this, it is such an awesome instrument in how it paints that picture for you. And that's what every verse is just, this guy, he's miserable when he's not high, and then he gets high, and just kind of, there's no lyrics, there's just the guitar after he gets high. So he does his hit, and then he's off, with this wonderful guitar thing, and it's amazing. So I'm picturing that this is like, this guy's losing control, and the last verse really epitomizes that, where he says, I can't remember things that I used to know. And so it's like, so he realizes that he's got a problem, like he's frying his brain.
Yeah, but then what's he do after that?
Drugs.
Takes another hit now.
Yeah.
Take another hit, let the 4 winds blow.
That's right. That's what it comes down to when you're addicted, is you lose control. You lose that ability to make your own decision. And instead you're chasing that high. Thankfully, these guys were able to get cleaned up before they died. But man, this song's a real honest and accurate depiction, I feel, of being a junkie. I love that a couple times, when he's saying junkie, it kind of sounds like chunky. I hope that there's a Weird Al version somewhere out there.
I don't think the song's well enough known to
No,
to bring on a parody at this point.
no, but man, I would love to see that. What are your feelings about this song, Justin?
Well, obviously, I love this song. I picked it because Chris gave us a choice, kind of, I guess. But this is actually the song that got me into Lynyrd Skynyrd. Funny enough, because I had heard a few of their songs on the radio, but I thought I better it was when I first had a job, and I thought I'm going to buy this box set of Lynyrd Skynyrd, and I think this was the second song after the Freebird demo on the first disc, and so it really got me into it. And demos are kind of strange because demos can be really stripped down. They can be just basic shells of songs as we know them, but this one's kind of hard to tell because there was never a different version. This is the only version, but it's pretty polished to me. It's polished in a very raw way, like it's supposed to be raw.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a raw studio recording, but you can tell that these guys are really good.
Yeah, but it's almost like it's supposed to be raw.
Yeah,
to emote those feelings. But it starts out with a E to a G power chord. It's really simple, and then it kicks in pretty heavy.
Yeah,
and I like when that music kicks in heavy, and they use the wah-wah pedal on the guitar in those choruses, in the pre-chorus and the choruses. But then it slows back down, and like you said, it kind of falls in with the lyrics. Then he takes another hit, and it kicks back up again, and it's got a really good triple guitar solo in the middle that I really, really enjoy. I don't know what it is about this song, but it just hits me. It's right down my alley with everything because it's a guitar-driven song without a doubt. And I like the slow to sped up to heavy and how it brings on all those feelings of the lyric. Some songs, the lyrics are kind of throwaway to the music, or the music's a throwaway to the lyrics, and they're kind of hiding one or another. But this isn't hiding either. The lyrics are straightforward about what this is about, and the music follows that journey too. And I think that's great. That the lyrics are just amazing in this thing. The drums and bass are thick, and they thump through the whole thing. And it's kind of a short song, not super short, a few minutes long, but it's good. And I would suggest one good thing now is when I got this, you could only find it if you had that box set. But now we're lucky because we've got Apple Music and Spotify and things like that, YouTube, where you can go stream this kind of stuff. And I would suggest anybody that is even a casual listener and doesn't know Junkie, go listen to this and even try out Freebird the demo song, because it's pretty interesting to hear this band in this form. So do you want to rate this one?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
Okay, listener, if this is your first episode listening, I will briefly explain our rating scale at 0 to 10, 10 being the best. I want to put this song higher than I did. I want to, but there's something about it, a song that's just all about drugs, that it's just not, I'm not digging it. Maybe it's because of my Nancy Reagan childhood that, just say no, Tyler. Yeah. But I put this one at a 7.5, which is probably a full 2 points lower than it should be. That being said, I'm not changing it. It's 7.5. Where do you put this one?
Well, that's why you go first, because you're so prone to peer pressure that once I gave me a rating, you would have changed yours.
Yeah, exactly, and I would have agreed with you.
This is by far my favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd song, and that's kind of strange for a song that was never released until years later on a outtake. I rate this song a 9.5. I love this song, and I would implore anyone to go listen to this. And I always think I wish there was a finished version of this, but I might not have liked it as well.
Maybe not.
There's no way to tell now, so we can't be, what ifs, but I really enjoy this song. It's pretty easy to play on guitar. I just like the emotion, and even though I grew up with Nancy Reagan as well, I didn't listen to her as well as you did.
You kind of fought the authority.
I fought the authority, but I also just like the rawness of it, because I try and think that just because these guys are junkies doesn't mean I am, by any means, but I just like the way they matched the music with the lyrical content and how it kind of follows. And it's kind of hard to explain, but
See, you were right. I was wrong. I was a full 2 points lower than it should have been. This song is a 9.5.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But that's Lynyrd Skynyrd and Junkie. Chris, we appreciate you wanting us to do a Lynyrd Skynyrd song.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if this is the one you wouldn't have chosen, but you didn't give us one. So I had to choose one, and this is my favorite one. So,
and hopefully we introduced you to something new.
Go check it out. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any songs or albums you'd like us to rate, send them there as well. And like always, we really appreciate you taking your time to listen to us. So until next time, see ya.
See ya. Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.